So if you're an opponent of her, don't push that this was her voting present and then crying about it. Say that she voted no. Tell the constituents that she voted no, and make them realize AOC is controlled by the Democrat Party just like everybody else in Washington. Alright, welcome back to the channel today, everybody. We got a whole new setup going on, and I am excited to bring you some new content. So today's video, I want to talk about this whole situation going on with AOC crying on the floor of the House, but over the Iron Dome spending package, right? There has been a video going around. I think we're getting the narrative wrong, and I'm going to show you why I think this. And I think it's actually a bigger deal than what it's even being made out to be when we look at the right narrative that we're going with. And then at the end, I kind of just want to briefly touch on red flag legislation that was recently introduced and passed the House of Representatives with actually quite a bit of bipartisan support. So we'll talk about that here at the end. But before I get started, make sure you click that subscribe button below. Definitely helps out the channel, helps me grow viewers, and helps me bring more of this content to y'all. So this right here is actually the picture that's been going around. It's AOC breaking down on the floor of the House after the House voted to, 420 to 9 for $1 billion to fund the Iron Dome Defense Force for Israel. Now, the narrative has been that she cried after the bill was passed because she was upset that it was funded, and that we were paying more money for Israel's defense when she's in support of the Palestinians and everything like that, right? I don't think that's as much of the case. A lot of people are saying she's upset, and then she also voted present during this vote. So she didn't even follow through her values and vote no. She voted present. But this isn't really exactly the case. We actually know that AOC voted no and then was reprimanded on the floor of the House by Nancy Pelosi. And so here's a video that kind of shows exactly what happened. I'll kind of talk about it. So if you look in the bottom corner over here, wrong one, right here, the person in pink is Nancy Pelosi. And she's talking to AOC. It doesn't look like a very calm conversation, does it? She is adamantly yelling at AOC on the floor of the House. And then here at the end of this first little clip, you'll see hands go up because they start trying to get the attention of the person that's taking the vote. This is important because then it's going to switch to the next clip, which I'll point to in a second. Hands up. She's going, "What are you doing?" I wish I wish we knew exactly what she was saying right now. Maybe some stuff will come out here later this week and what she was saying to AOC. I have a feeling it has to do with her voting no, and then her having a high Jewish population in her district, right? Now here comes the announcement. Now watch the nays. See, the nays to present just changed. I'll show you that again. So the nays is about to switch over. As soon as it switches over to that other camera shot, the nays will change. So watch, from 9 to 8 to 2. So that shows that what basically happened is AOC voted no and then changed her vote to present on the floor. And why I think this is a big distinction is because of what's been going on recently with the squad and the media breakdown of who the squad is and what they stand for, and like they're actually the ones running the show, because we know that like they're the communist wing of the far left wing of the Democrat Party. And I think like being yelled at by somebody else like in front of everybody, of course you're going to be upset. I don't think she was upset that the vote didn't pass. I mean, she might have been upset because it wasn't something that she wanted, but I don't think it was. I think it was because of the unprofessionalism that Nancy Pelosi showed. Let's just call it like it is. That is not professional. That is not something that you do. You don't. I mean, that seems like a very toxic and poor place to be. And in one sense, I almost feel bad for AOC, but then in another sense, I'm like, I don't. Now, on the topic of funding the Iron Dome, I don't believe in any foreign aid. I think voluntary donations to like Red Cross and stuff like that are more warranted than government funded foreign aid. So I agree with Thomas Massey's vote of no on this bill. But that's not really what I want to talk about in here. And if you have any questions about my stances on foreign aid and stuff like that, send me a comment below. And I can possibly address that in future videos. But why is this important? That instead of the narrative that we're pushing, right? So this really shows that AOC is not as powerful as the media has made her out to be. She will do exactly what the powers that be tell her. I think Nancy Pelosi controls everything that happens in the House. As you see, like the squad is only allowed to disagree with Nancy Pelosi when she says they are, when it's actually politically expedient for them to disagree. I mean, and this was somewhere where I think she was like, no, you have to get in line on this. Like I said, I think we should be hitting. You can absolutely show this and show that she voted no. I think a no vote is better for Republicans than a present vote or even a yes vote. Because again, if she voted no, there is a high Jewish population that would probably like to see the dome funded. So if you're an opponent of her, don't push that this was her voting present and then crying about it. Say that she voted no. Tell the constituents that she voted no, and make them realize AOC is controlled by the Democrat Party just like everybody else in Washington, right? And it really makes me wonder, like, I've been impressed with people like Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, but it also makes you kind of wonder, like, how much are they actually pushing back? Like, you kind of start to wonder, are them blocking votes in the Senate like going in line with actually what the Democrat platform really wants them to do? Because think about this, if they can block bills, Democrats can usually get away with blaming Republicans for blocking those same bills and not their own party, right? And a lot of these bills, it's probably stuff that the establishment of the Democrat Party really doesn't want to pass, because we know that the establishment is not far left communist, even though that's what they want to promote themselves as. Because then they can shift that Overton window even more by having these far left people out there. But then when you have somebody like Kristen Sinema blocking votes, it prevents us from going into that far left quadrants that they seem to want to go, because it has to take place over time. You can't just have somebody come out as a communist and then we just like the whole party shifts over to be communist, right? You have to shift and move people in a slower manner so that they don't even realize what's going on as the Overton window continues to shift to the left. No, so I have a lot of questions about what actually happens behind the scenes with those two. But if this is kind of what happens and plays out with somebody like AOC, and it's never happened with them, it's still, on its face, it makes me respect them even more because of how, toxic that leadership really is. But then you also kind of wonder if they have the permission of the powers that be to kind of do what they're doing. I don't know. But this also kind of brings me into the next point of, Republicans. and why, as a libertarian, I don't see really a huge difference between Republicans and Democrats. And I think this bill that just passed yesterday is a good example of that. So in the Defense Authorization Act, the National Defense Authorization Act, it passed with 140 or 135 Republican support. That's more than half of the Republicans in the House of Representatives. And these are the names of the people that voted yes for this bill. Now, what's interesting about this bill is they put in it a red flag gun confiscation law. Yeah, so 135 Republicans voted yes on confiscation laws. Now, this only affects active duty military members because it's part of the Defense Authorization Act. So it doesn't go against every single person in the U.S., but it's the people that are fighting for your freedoms are the ones that are having their freedoms taken away. Now, what's really interesting about this list, and I find two names on this list to be just show exactly the reason why I left the Tea Party, because Dan Crenshaw is on there, and so is Matt Gaetz. Both of these people would have been labeled when they ran for office as Tea Party candidates. Now they get in, and either they didn't read this bill, they didn't understand that this is in it, or they support it. I don't know which one of those options is worse, but they voted for this act that strips military members of Fourth, Fifth Amendment constitutional rights. And so, like, how does this not reinforce, like, the two parties are the same? This is, again, the Overton window shifting. Now we're putting red flag laws on our U.S. military. Like, what's next? Are they going to support red flag laws nationally when they've claimed to be against red flag laws? I don't think so. But we have to fight back. You have to start to realize who these people are. And like I said, Dan Crenshaw was somebody that I actually supported. And so same with Matt Gaetz. I actually supported both of these people when they were running, and they've done nothing but disappoint me since they've been in office. So again, it just reinforces why I am no longer a Tea Party Republican or Tea Party conservative, whatever you want to say, because the two parties really aren't that different. I mean, 135 Republicans supported this. Like, this is just politics at its best, or at its worst, if you want to look at it like that. But anyways, that's my video. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button below, and we will have a video for you next time.